thinking about setting up a home in Thailand, it's an amazing dream, but there's a really big question you have to tackle first. And that is, as a foreigner, you generally can't own land. So how do you actually build a life there? Let's break down the most common and secure way to do it.
Exactly. I mean, we all have that vision, right? A beautiful villa, maybe a small garden, your own little piece of paradise. But that dream bumps up against a major legal reality pretty fast. The short answer to owning the land itself is almost always no.
And here's the reason why. Thai law is super clear on this. With very, very few and complicated exceptions, foreigners are just prohibited from directly owning land. It's a fundamental rule that's been in place for a long time.
Okay, so that leads to the really important question. If you can't own the dirt, how do you get the security you need to build a home or, make an investment? Well, the good news is there's a very well-traveled and legally solid path.
And that path is the long-term lease, which you'll often hear called a leasehold. This is hands down the most straightforward and widely used method for foreigners to get long-term control over land and whatever house sits on it. 30 years, that is the magic number you need to remember. Under Thai law, the absolute maximum initial term for a lease you can register is 30 years. And honestly, that provides a really solid chunk of time and security for your home. So let's be clear on what a leasehold actually is. It doesn't mean you own the land. Instead, it gives you the legal right to use and live on that land for that set amount of time. You get the control, just not the actual title deed with your name on it. Right, so to make this even clearer, let's put the two concepts side by side. Leasehold versus what's called freehold ownership. Getting the difference here is absolutely crucial. So on the left, you've got the leasehold. You get control for a fixed, long-term period, and it has to be registered with the land department. On the right, you see freehold. That's owning it forever. But like we said, that's pretty much off the table for foreigners buying land, so the lease is your key. This is always the next big question, and it's a really important one. What happens when those 30 years are over? Can you stay longer? What's the deal with renewals?
Okay, listen up, because this part is vital. You can renew, but it is not a legal right. You and the landowner have to mutually agree to a new lease. That means the 30-30-30 contract you might hear about isn't legally enforceable. Think of it more as a promise. Each new 30-year term is a brand new agreement that has to be re-registered all over again. Now, here's a really cool detail that a lot of people don't realize. While you can't own the land, if you lease it and get the right permits to build a house, you can legally own the actual building, the physical structure itself. It's yours. So, knowing the rules is one thing, but you've got to protect yourself. A really strong contract is basically your armor. Let's look at what needs to be in it and some of the pitfalls to watch out for. These three things are totally non-negotiable. First, an inheritance clause. Without one, the lease just ends when you die. This lets it pass to your family. Second, a transfer clause. This gives you the flexibility to sell the lease later. And third, registration. If it's over 3 years, it must be registered to be official. You also have to be realistic about the risks. The landowner could just say no to a renewal. Legal fights can be expensive and take forever. And it's tough to get a mortgage from a bank for leased land. This is why you have to get that contract checked for any sneaky, unfair terms. Look, the main takeaway here is simple. This is not a do-it-yourself project. The investment is just too big, and the legal stuff is too tricky. Getting professional legal advice isn't just a suggestion. It's absolutely essential to protect yourself. So we've covered the rules, the solutions, and the protections. What's the path forward from here? Let's bring it all together. The bottom line is this. A well-written, legally registered 30-year lease is a really strong and secure way to build your life in Thailand. It's the tried-and-true pathway for foreigners as long as it's done correctly.
Yeah, it can feel like a maze sometimes, but if you have the right map and a guide who knows the way, it becomes a really clear path to your goal.
If you're ready to explore your options with a team that really gets this stuff inside and out, we suggest visiting centralcityproperty.com. They can help you take that next step with confidence.